This month we explore Columbia through the Columbia Archives, where the documentation of Columbia's history is preserved and open to the public. In 1963, James Rouse posed the question, how does a community communicate to itself about itself? If we ask that question today, perhaps we would be talking Facebook and YouTube and other social media. Back in the 1960s, there was talk but little action about interactive cable TV, and communication focused mainly on face-to-face meetings and print media. The Rouse Company met with community groups and business officials, and there was a wide array of print media. One of the first pieces that was used to totally communicate the idea of the Columbia Plan was this binder. This was presented to the officials of Howard County. It outlined the entire process that the Rouse Company was planning. This piece was also distributed widely through the existing press. One of the existing press was the Howard County Times. There was also the Central Maryland News. The Rouse Company built up great ties to these newspapers, and much of the information about Columbia was distributed to the community in that way. As the community grew, there were more community newspapers, like the Columbia Villager and the Columbia Forum, and the Columbia Association began to realize that it needed its own vehicle to get out to the community. One of the first publications they had was called Kellner, and this was primarily a calendar, but it also talked about events and people and activities for the Columbia community. Within the Columbia Flyer, starting in the late 90s, was something called 6 Pages. This was Columbia Association's communications tool about Columbia Association activities specifically. Since then, more recently, CA Monthly is the piece that comes available every month in the Columbia Flyer, again, talking about the activities that CA offers, as well as things going on in the community. The exhibit about Columbia's communication and how a community communicates to itself is evidenced in this display behind me that offers many, many ways that not only the community communicated to itself, but some interesting ways that Jim Rouse actually communicated to his team. We have a whistle that Rouse's assistant, Nancy Allison, used to use when Rouse's office was in Cross Keys. And I was told that the story was that sometimes Rouse would get real busy down in the courtyard and he would get lost and there'd be a meeting and she would use this whistle to beckon him back to the office. There's also a disc, a record disc, that Rouse used on his 1963 trip to Europe. He would dictate his thoughts on the towns that he was visiting to get ideas about Columbia. These are all available for viewing at the Columbia Archives, and I welcome you to come in and take some more time and get a little deeper understanding of what the Columbia story is all about. You can come in and see the exhibit through November and December. You can come in and visit the archives anytime. Thanks for spending time with us at the Columbia Archives. Tune in again next month as we continue to explore Columbia.